Hey guys, what's up? It's Jeff from PackGeek. I am here with a friend and fellow collector.
Yes.
His name is Terry Catlett. Terry, thank you very much for,
Thank you for having
coming
me.
on.
This is an incredible day for me. I'm very excited.
So I know Terry. Terry is my improv teacher, improv comedy. I'm in the final class of this program that we're doing, level 5, and Terry taught level 4 and now level 5. And he's just a good dude. And one day we started talking, and he's also a guy who collected hardcore as a kid.
Hardcore.
And we started talking. So tell me, first off, let's talk about improv.
Sure.
Can we talk about that
Absolutely.
a little bit? So you're teaching at a place called 4 Day Weekend.
4 Day Weekend,
Okay.
right? And I have taught at places like Dallas Comedy House and other places. I primarily perform at Dallas Comedy House and other nice venues across the land.
What kind of shows do you do at Dallas Comedy House?
I mean, it's basic improv, but
Okay.
we have different formats that we like to do. I do a lot of two-person shows, which I find really interesting because you're kind of out there on an island with you and your partner, and there aren't people coming to help. So a lot more is expected of you, and it's a bit dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, that's, in the comedy world, that's about as close as you can get to doing stand-up without being out there by yourself, right?
It is the dumbest thing that you could possibly do. Not a lot of help there, but unfortunately I've got good people working with me, and it's really fun. I have a great time.
So how did you get involved in improv? Because comedy is a big part of your life now.
It is a huge part of my life. I did stand-up for about 4 years because I had always really enjoyed it as a child, and I did like doing stand-up. It's just a lot of work, and I really found out that I'm just ridiculously lazy. And so improv kind of lends to my worst nature, I guess, in that I don't have to prepare anything. And it's kind of lonely as a stand-up because you just do everything by yourself, and there's not a lot of people to collaborate with, or there's not a community of support there. Whereas with improv, I found a lot of like-minded people that like to do what I like to do and that are equally as lazy as I am.
So if working in comedy as you,
Yes.
having done stand-up and doing improv a ton now, what would be the ultimate gig for you? Would that be something like Saturday Night Live or a sitcom? Or?
No, when I was younger, I really thought Saturday Night Live was the big thing, like the stepping stone. But the more that I've done improv, I really prefer that medium, and I think that it has so much further to grow. Because right now, improv's just used as a stepping stone to maybe sketch comedy or basically maybe honing some techniques to act better, I guess.
Right.
But
act harder.
Yeah, but I think it is a really great art form, and I think it's got much further to go. So I kind of want to see how far I can take improv. Maybe I can be the first one to nudge it into the well-known populace, I guess, so you would speak. Yeah,
I mean, you've got, Whose Line Is It Anyways?
Right.
Are there any other improv-based TV shows?
There have been. They've tried little one-offs here and there, like UCB had a show that was on.
Okay.
At least they got a pilot.
And that's Upright Citizens Brigade, in case you aren't familiar with the vernacular. But
I think the one thing about improv is that it's a kind of a you have to be there kind of thing. It's a very collaborative experience between the artist and the audience, and you really just kind of have to experience there. I've yet to see something captured on film that really brings out the energy and the vibe of a live performance, and so I'm trying to figure out how to bridge that gap.
I think you're 100% correct. There's nothing like being in the audience at an improv show and watching. It's so rewarding to see something that you're watching unfold organically. I'm sorry to use that word, but organically.
It's a great description.
In front of you, even potentially from a suggestion that you put out there. So the audience is a part of the show, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And even in our class, we have people who aren't necessarily performers, aren't actors, aren't theater people. We have one of the funniest people in our class. He's a financial guy, and he likes comedy, and he wanted to get out there and have some fun, and he's been killing it. So
he has some of the best reactions that I've ever seen to anything.
He does.
And that's a great thing. He's not trying to manipulate. He's not trying to be funny. He's just acting natural.
Yes, exactly.
It's
But
wonderful.
I think improv is great for everyone, including and especially if you are somebody who works in sales or has to think on your feet a lot and just generally in life.
It's really great for people that are trying to continue like self-improving. It gets you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to want to be a performer, but it brings out things in you that you really didn't know you were there, and it gives you confidence. It's an amazing art form. I really like it.
I agree. So, well, we got the stack of sports cards in front of us.
This brings me back to I'm 12 years old again. This is incredible.
Here we go.
All we're missing is a Slurpee from 7-Eleven, because my Saturdays were spent getting on my bike, riding to 7-Eleven, buying 10 wax packs and a Slurpee, and then the rest of the afternoon was cataloging and looking through these, and it was I was a very lonely child.
That is you basically picked up on a large portion of my childhood.
Yeah.
We went to 7-Eleven too. That was
Yep.
our favorite spot until the baseball card shops opened.
Right.
But 7-Eleven, you would go up there and they had obviously tons of candy, the Slurpees as you mentioned, but they had a pretty decent selection of sports cards.
Donruss, Fleer, Topps, Diamond King, is that?
Well, Diamond Kings are in Donruss.
Okay.
But yeah.
But I just I'm not sure why I really stuck with Topps. It's probably just because that's what I was indoctrinated with.
Sure, yeah.
But this
been around forever.
Topps was my brand, and that's what I stuck with until Upper Deck came along and looked cool.
So we're talking about 1987 Topps.
Yep.
And when I chatted with Terry about what he collected as a kid, this was a set that came to mind. And Terry brought a little something special for us here. His childhood binder,
That's right.
which
This
is
was-
incredibly well organized.
That's right. As you can see, there are over the 792 cards for this set, all cataloged and in
So well
chronological order. I've even tabbed some of the really expensive cards, but the 87 Topps was the first set that I really decided I'm going to be a collector.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to get a couple wax packs and put them in my bike spokes and do that stuff.
Thank goodness.
I'm actually going to sit here and try and accumulate all these cards and put together a full set. So this was my first one, and that's why these are so important and precious to me.
So for people that are familiar with the 87 Topps set, like it's a pretty robust set itself, but he also has the traded set in there. So he has almost 1,000 cards.
The reason why I have the traded set is because one of the most coveted cards in the set was the Benito Santiago cards, because he was the hot rookie catcher from the
huge.
Padres that year.
Yeah.
But of course he wasn't in the regular set, so you had to buy the traded set.
Yeah, well, living in Kansas, the trade set had the Kevin Seitzer rookie, which was a monster to
Of course.
little kids growing up in Topeka.
Of course.
Kevin Seitzer was doing really well. I mean, he had a great career anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's funny how depending on what part of the country you're in, you're looking for different players. a
Right.
lot of
I mean,
times.
you always like your hometown guys. Like I saw, as I was thumbing through this, I'm looking at Ruben Sierra,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, wow, what a great memory back to, because he was as a Rangers fan, he was our big guy.
And so you grew up around here.
Absolutely.
All right, so you've been a lifelong Rangers fan?
Lifelong Rangers fan, for better or for worse. And so yeah, you look for your hometown guys.
Yeah, of course.
Or you really keep up with the ones that your team traded, that like a Sammy Sosa that goes on to be much better than when he was here.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as a Rangers fan, we've dealt with more heartbreak than we have anything else. But
Well, I feel you being a Royals fan.
you
we
have
had-
World Series championships,
Okay,
sir.
we did. Actually, being a Chiefs fan was a little bit more difficult than the Royals, but you're right. You guys, I can't top the Rangers fans. You guys are all hard.
Yes.
There's so many awesome cards in here. I listed them just to make sure I didn't forget anything.
Okay.
Did you have a favorite player?
Well, when I was very young, Johnny Bench was my hero.
It's a great favorite
And
player.
so, because he was my hero, catchers were always so Pudge Fisk, and then along, Pudge Rodriguez thing came after that. But so I was always catching was my favorite position.
Okay.
But from this set, because I was becoming a collector, the rookies were the deal.
Sure.
And so because the '84 set had the Mark McGwire Olympic rookie card, this '87 set was going to have the Mark McGwire first athletics card.
Right, first Topps card that came out in a pack.
Exactly, and so it also had the Jose Canseco, and then we're talking Barry Bonds, Barry Larkin. So back then, the rookies and then the really established veterans were the ones you were going for, because then those are the ones that were the most valuable.
You seem to be forgetting a specific player that hasn't been mentioned yet.
No, I don't remember anybody else being good around that.
I'm going to give you a hint. He played in the NFL as well.
I see. Well, I mean, nobody really good stands out.
And he was not Deion Sanders.
I mean, I saw a guy that was an okay athlete in his time, right? If I only knew, like Bo knows.
If we could only get a hint.
Exactly. Bo Jackson.
No, of course, Bo Jackson. That was the card we were always looking
watching him at Auburn and then watching his decision, also the best 30 for 30, or one of the best 30 for 30 episodes.
I haven't seen it, but I heard that.
But watching a giant football player play baseball almost seemed unfair because he was such a ridiculous athlete.
Yeah.
No offense to baseball, but he almost seemed wasted on baseball. That's how good of an athlete he was. So.
He did look kind of like a man amongst boys out there, and
he looked like a giant amongst children.
He was, and he was so fast. Like watching him, he was one of the most exciting defensive players I remember in the outfield. Just watching him track down balls, you're like, there's no way he's catching that.
Well, and then if you weren't intimidated enough by just his physical presence, when he had a bat at bat, he would break it over his leg, and then you just thought, this guy is going to kill someone.
He's going to kill someone.
So if I were a pitcher, I'd just underhand it up there and let him hit it, because he's going to come after me, and I want no part of that at all.
Well, so he went on to play for the White Sox, and I remember there was, of course you remember this, when Robin Ventura decided to charge the mound on Nolan Ryan. Still one of the worst decisions in all of baseball, and I've said this before, but he was going to lose either way. If he goes out there and beats up one of the most loved pitchers who was like his dad's age at the time, he's going to look horrible. If he loses to the Nolan Ryan, which he obviously did, he little brothered him. It was like, what were you thinking, Robin Ventura?
I don't know. I don't know, because again, it's a terrible decision. The thing I remember most about that one incident was that Pudge Rodriguez was catching that day, and he was 2 days back from he had broken his jaw. Because I don't remember who the batter was, but he had done one of those things where he'd gone all the way around and hit him on the side of the head with his bat. And so Pudge got him from behind, and he's trying to get Ventura off Ryan, which obviously Nolan didn't need any help. But we were looking at the bandage to see how much more damaged Pudge was getting in the fight.
Oh man!
So that's the type of memories I have.
Well, I bring that fight up because the White Sox came out. They have Bo Jackson on their team. They have Tim Raines, who maybe not super tall, was just a little rock.
To go. Was Frank Thomas there at this time?
Frank Thomas was there. So you've got those guys also involved. Fortunately, they were being like peacekeepers. I don't remember any of those three. Well,
I'm not even sure any of those guys want any part of Nolan. I mean, this is a guy that because he sells his own beef now, and you just have this image of him going out and just rustling the cows to the ground himself and killing them with his bare hands. That was just the reputation that Nolan had. You can't do a lot to him because you've eventually got to stand in the batter's box and stare down a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. You know what I mean?
Okay, so what do you say we open some packs?
Okay.
So we have 10 packs of 1987 Topps. So 5 for you, 5 for me. Let's just go through these, and if you pull any big hits, we'll show them to the camera and let the folks at home see these and kind of go along with us. So good luck to you, sir.
Good luck to you. Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Doink. Oh man, this takes me back.
So 7-Eleven, did you have any baseball card shops near you when you were a kid?
There was one in downtown Richardson that we would go to a lot.
Okay.
And then that was pretty much the closest one.
Okay. What do you remember about that shop?
I just was overwhelmed with the amount of memorabilia that was in there. And because it's where I went to get, basically it's how I got the binder and everything, like all the sleeves to stock all of this stuff. And so this is where all my allowance went. This is where all my My money went.
But you have, and we'll show this in some B-roll, but you have the most well-organized binder. It's labeled.
Well,
it's like, did you do that as a kid? Or
I
was
did
that,
it as a kid.
That's amazing.
I had a lot of free time as a child. I don't know if this one's important, but Ron Washington, former manager of the Texas Rangers. That's a nice one right there. Did you get it? Yes. Perfect.
That's what is it saying? That's what.
That's how baseball go.
That's right. Man, Ron Washington. I remember pulling a lot of Ron
Mike
Washington.
Scott, also a wonderful fireballer from the Astros in his time.
Speaking of fireballs, got Roger Clemens here.
Right. Nice. Is that the record breaker?
That is the record breaker.
Yes.
Man, you got a good memory for this
Well,
one.
the good thing about this set is that they had the record breaker cards. They also had the turn back the clock set.
Yep.
And then they had the All-Star
All-Stars,
set.
yeah.
And so they had a lot of like little mini sets within sets, and that was pretty cool. This gum terrifies me that it's 35
You should
years
totally
old.
eat it.
I should?
I mean, I'll tell you because we've done this a few times on episodes.
It's not a good thing about this.
Oh, you're going with hot?
Yeah, I went for a little piece. Oh, it's just dust. Look at that.
You're probably gonna regret eating that, but
Then
it's fun.
that's not how I want to spend my day, Jeff.
I'm only telling you that because I feel like you need a fair warning.
I want to be cool, but that's not how I want to spend my day.
It's okay. I'll tell you what, if I pull a Bo Jackson, I will eat a stick of that.
That's
gum.
fair. That's fair.
And if you pull a,
And also, I never won this Spring Fever sweepstakes that they put in.
Did anyone win that?
I don't know. I'm sure there's a child somewhere that was like, best time of my life was the 1987 Spring Fever giveaway.
I've always wanted to go to spring training and see.
Have you ever really looked into it?
Never.
Out in Arizona, a lot of the complexes are very close to one another. And so, like, you could go just stay in Phoenix for a week and probably see 100 games.
Really?
The All-Star set that we were talking about earlier, the Cal Ripken All-Star right there.
I gotta tell you, so
This is one of my favorite baseball players of all time.
same here. He
may be a jerk in real life, but
Have you ever heard that?
no.
Okay,
but
I haven't either. I haven't heard
always
anything
think
bad
that-
about Cal Ripken.
I always have a thing that my favorite people are probably terrible humans and that I should not ever.
Man.
Did you get this?
It's so disappointing when that happens. But yeah, so George Brett, my favorite all-time player, and followed closely by Cal Ripken. And
Right.
we talked about this before on the show, but like he's one of those athletes that you wish was still around, especially with kids. Like they can actually watch these athletes and they can be a role model, still.
So George Brett being your hero, did you ever
Yeah.
get to meet George Brett?
I never met George Brett personally, but
Not even at a card show, like an autograph signing?
no, unfortunately not.
Okay.
However, my resourceful wife was able to get in contact with George Brett, and he sent a video telling me I was going to be a father of George Brett. Yes. When
my goodness.
It's on the PackGeek YouTube channel.
I will look at that.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
sounds
it's-
fantastic.
It was very surreal.
Now that I know that George Brett's just giving away free messages, I'm gonna,
Ryan Sandberg, another one of those all-time greats. So these Ryan Sandberg, George Brett, Cal Ripken.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I always loved them because they stayed on the same team forever. So they had this brand that went
Right.
along with their team. What did you pull, sir?
Here's a blast from your past. First of all, the Dan Quisenberry
sidearm.
right here.
He was one of the craziest guys to ever watch pitch. If you know nothing about Dan Quisenberry, go on YouTube and search Dan Quisenberry to watch his form. He's got this crazy sidearm form.
And then here we go, sir.
All right.
Jose Canseco.
And I always love this because it has the little all-star rookie cup next to it. Those were always fun to
My
pull.
favorite thing looking at this pose, it looks like someone stuffing a very large man into a very tiny spot.
He was a monster.
Look how he's just scrunched up. And he looks like he's in timeout. He probably is. I don't know.
He
But
does look like he did
this
something wrong.
is a very, very good card.
So I just watched this documentary on sports cards. It's called Jack of All Trades. Shout out to you guys. It's a really good documentary. But they have an interview with Jose Canseco, and he talks about his mustache that he had in the '86 Donruss card, if you remember his rookie, and he
Yeah.
had this kind of what we would refer to as a crustache, not quite a full-blown mustache, but it's very funny. If you have a chance to check it out, you should see it because it's got a great story. But I wanted to make note that he's very clean shaven in this,
Yeah.
and you don't see any remnants of a crustache. But go check out that movie because
Spoiler alert, he will have many more problems in life than that. So.
Would you just hop in a DeLorean?
Oh, all right. Well, I can even just see the name as I just open this. Right off the top.
Man.
Roger Clemens.
Jeez.
Right there.
Okay.
Cy Young winner, 1987.
If we're going head to head right now on cool cards we pull, you're definitely
Am I winning?
winning.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty clear victory at this
Well,
point.
that was the whole goal, is to make sure that I won this
You
competition.
came on my show and destroyed me.
I was thinking of ways to win.
Okay, so you remember this guy?
Yes. Yes.
Danny Tartable played for the Royals as well. This guy was on fire for a few seasons. This was maybe not this particular card, but certainly his '86 Topps traded card. And I think he was in the '86 Fleer update, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, he was a very collectible guy at one point in time.
Well, and speaking of other Royals, this is a very sentimental one because Jim Sundberg was the Rangers catcher for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And I was slightly heartbroken when he went to the Royals.
Well, I mean, he found a good home.
He did.
Okay.
I didn't hate them. I just thought, boy, he looks better in Rangers blue than he does in Royal blue.
That seems like a shot.
Well-
Was he a Rangers favorite?
He really was. He was a fan favorite. Real solid player for all those years. Probably between him and Al Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
Former Montreal Expo.
Of course.
Those two guys are probably the most revered Rangers of that era.
Okay.
Last pack.
All right, man. Good luck. I'm on my
Good luck.
last one, too.
Okay.
So far, the Canseco takes the cake.
Well, then I'm hoping for a bow in here.
I'll be eating some gum if you do.
Well,
Okay, so Mike Schmidt and Gary Carter. If you haven't watched a lot of the PackGeek series, I always pull at least one of those guys for some reason. No complaints. They're both awesome Hall of Famers,
Sure.
but always Mike Schmidt or Gary Carter. And there's a super collector of Gary Carter. Oh, he did it! He did it! Okay, I'm gonna finish the pack before I have to eat this horrible.
I don't even need to finish
37
this.
years old.
I don't
gum.
even-
How old is this gum?
this gum is 32 years old.
Man, so that is. It's such an awesome card.
I don't even need to finish this. I've won this
You
match.
have won.
I've won.
You clearly won.
The rest of these people are meaningless. Probably all dead now. Don't even care.
They're dead to me. Okay.
Yep, bunch of crap.
Let's see. I'm gonna see just in case
Wow.
there's something
Look
awesome
at
hiding in
this.
here. Oh, hey, this one's for you.
What? Aw. There he is. Pudge Fisk. Huh? Talk about a great Red Sox from the past.
Dude.
Got one of the most famous home runs in the history of baseball.
He sure does.
And one of the most famous tempers as well.
I didn't know that.
He's a monster.
Hey, man. Cheers.
Wow. Yep. I want to everybody get in tight on this.
Oh, man.
The crunching.
It just disintegrates right in your mouth.
Is it gum dust in your mouth right now?
It's horrible.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
It does not taste like something you're supposed to
This
be
is
eating.
the best day of my life.
Terry,
This is awesome.
you're awesome, dude.
Thank you
Thank
much.
you for joining me, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to come back. We'll
I would love to.
open either some '87 Tops or something around that era. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, thanks for checking out another episode. Make sure to subscribe to PackGeek on YouTube. Also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks.
PackGeek.